one of the things that offer a lot of benefits are ADUs, DADUs, things of that nature. How many of you out there know Thatch Nguyen or have seen any of his content? Yeah, Thatch is one of the guys I give a lot of credit for getting folks inspired or thinking about ADUs. But you know what? We have the guy who does ADUs, who is in the noise, in the stuff. We have that ADU guy right here, Derek. This can be you. So, Derek's going to talk a little bit about this, but I'm telling you, the line should start now. Seriously, if you don't get up and get in line to ask him questions, you are going to miss out. Derek, the floor is yours.
Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon. Thanks, ZoobTube over here for bringing us all together. Thank you to all the people at the Blind Center today that are making this an amazing event. The lady that's leading the show, I see her everywhere. Thank you very much. Who here has a W-2 job? Raise your hand, please. Okay, who here wants to stay at your W-2 job but would like to do it only as an option? Okay, who here likes money? Okay, who here has never heard of an accessory dwelling unit? Don't be shy. Who hasn't heard of an ADU? Okay, I'll sit with you for a half hour when we're done, and I want to tell you all about it and do whatever I can to help you. So I'm going to share with everybody really, really briefly kind of my quick story. Zuber talks about finding average in a deal in your buy box, okay? Finding average as like a person. If you cut that in half and divided it by 2, like that's where I started. Okay, the common denominator today, everybody that you're listening to, they were all average people. The only thing they did differently was they took massive action, they took risks, and they believed in themselves. So I grew up single mom, Section 8 housing, bouncing around from house to house to house, and housing has always been really important to me. So my backstory is all about creating needed infill housing. ADUs just happen to be the vehicle that I'm most known for, but really it's capitalism with compassion. How do we build more units, and we can also make a fair living doing that? So I was in a high school woodshop class at 15, and our woodshop teacher handpicked a group of misfit kids. We thought we were special, but really he knew we weren't going to college. I still to this day can't even spell entrepreneur, but we started a construction technology class, and we built an illegal guest house for another one of our teachers. That was in 1995. I live in this little Oregon town called Ashland, Oregon, and we were lucky enough to have an ordinance that allowed these legal secondary units in the 90s. So I built my first ADU in 1995, and nobody gave a shit. I've been talking about ADUs for literally 28 years, and just the last few years, people are starting to listen. So if you live in California, if you live in Washington, if you live in Oregon, if you live in the state of Montana, those are the 4 states that have amazing accessory dwelling unit language. I'm going to tell everybody how you can really leverage that to build wealth. We buy single-family homes and we turn them into duplexes, triplexes, and quadplexes with no competition. And you guys can do that too, right? Average. We're just average people that are going to take massive action. Other states that are up and coming, Connecticut, there's some cities in Florida that are really popular right now with this strategy, and Austin, Texas is another really good hotspot. If you're in a market where you're saying, I can't cash flow, you're probably in a market that has high rental demand and city council members that are right now talking about implementing strategies like this that we already have in these West Coast states. So an ADU is a small secondary unit, usually on a larger parent lot that has a primary house. So does anybody in here have an ADU currently? Okay. Does anybody in here have a duplex or a triplex? Okay, a lot more competition, like literally like 50 hands to 1 came up. So what I want to teach everybody really quickly is to start looking for accessory dwelling units in your market. They may be called casitas, mother-in-law cottages, in-law suites. If you have a realtor, tell your realtor, in my buy box, I want to see accessory dwelling units. I want to see cottages. If you're searching on Zillow every night because you're obsessed with real estate, under the keyword, look for bonus rooms, look for accessory dwelling units, look for additional units. It's a really cool strategy because we can buy multi-family properties in a little bit nicer, lower density single-family zones. So that's the basics of the accessory dwelling unit strategy. And I speak all over the country for advocacy and policy making for accessory dwelling units. And I have all these different slide decks, and I have all these different presentations where I think I'm just going to go up there and tell everybody everything they need to know about ADUs. But what I've learned over the years of doing this is that I have the most value by answering what I call direct selfish questions from people that maybe have a garage they want to convert, or they're looking to buy their first property and they don't know how to do it yet. And I want to keep plenty of time to answer questions. I thought Zuber was going to interview me, but he just handed me the mic and ran off. So just real quick to qualify myself, I was a W-2 worker myself. I was a fireman, a structural fireman, and an EMT. For 15 years, I worked really hard in that industry. Helping people, again, is my passion. And the whole time, I was building accessory dwelling units. So again, I've been doing this since 1995. I started investing in year 2000, and I've slowly but surely bought a house, added an ADU over and over and over, and the only thing that's made me successful is that I never sold one. Okay, all my friends at the fire department were buying boats and big trucks. If anybody, who follows me on Instagram? That ADU guy. Okay, if you want to give me a follow, I share everything we're doing. I also share our whole process of how to build accessory dwelling units on my YouTube channel. That's also that ADU guy. But the reason I'm asking if you follow me is because you'll see what I do every day, how I live. I live in a 524 square foot ADU that I built. I drive a 30-year-old minivan. That's my daily driver, my best car, right? So we can have multiple millions of dollars of reserve and equity, and really it's about keeping it simple. It's about being average. So to qualify, W-2 employee until the last few years. I just retired 3 years ago, and drive an old car. I live in a small house. There's no flash. I share all that stuff openly. And I don't sell anything. I'm not smart enough to write a book. I don't have a course. I'm not going to try to tell you to run in the back of the room and buy a backpack full of stuff. We give it all away. Part of my strategy is, how can I help you? I'd rather help 1,000 people get 1 unit than have 1,000 units myself. So again, we open source everything we're doing on the YouTube channel. I go over how to build an ADU from the ground up. I literally start on a bare lot and show everybody the whole process, whether you're going to build it yourself or at least understand what you're paying your contractor for. I do help people find contractors. I do point people in the direction of good ADU lenders. And again, we give it all away for free. I'm an open book. Jason said it really well. I wish I could just take all the information I have in my brain from 28 years of doing this and just give it to everybody here, because the ADU strategy is super powerful. It's an amazing wealth building tool. Some of the most successful, respectful investors that I know, that's what they're doing right now. So some people that I follow and see do amazing things. Thatch, his name came up. He's a great guy. I don't know if anybody's in the Springboard. Anybody here from Springboard? He's got a really cool community, Justin, up there. But yeah, that's kind of the nuts and bolts of ADUs and how we can use them to build wealth. The last thing I'll say before I open it up for direct, selfish questions is how average the strategy is. So still, to this day, I buy primary houses as an owner-occupant with 5% down. I have to occupy that. Wait a second. Is anybody here from Freddie Mac? I'm being serious. Is anybody here from Fannie Mae? Upstairs, nowhere? You have to disclose if you are. Are there any federal lenders here? Okay. I'm serious about this. So I share this openly, my strategy, and I recently was qualifying for a primary mortgage. And we got all the way to the closing table. We had a clear to close, and I got this email from my lender, and it said, hey, we got a message from Quality Assurance at United Wholesale Mortgage, and they're saying we're not going to give you a primary loan because this is an investment product. And it's no, bullshit. This is what I do. I do it over and over. You have to intend to occupy. You have to move in within 60 days, and you have to intend to occupy for a year. I always live in them for at least a year. Anyways, the letter specifically said, we have seen your client on social media going through the process of how to build, remodel, move into a house, and then turn it into a rental. And I'm yes, within the federal guidance. right? We don't have to break the rules to get rich in real estate, people. We just have to know them and follow them. Okay, I grew up super poor, single mom, no money. We didn't talk about money because we didn't have any. Guilt and shame is all that was surrounded by money. So if we know the rules, okay, we know how to use a house hack to buy in a high-value neighborhood and then use all of our cash to build an asset, not go buy a new car that we can't afford, we will get rich. Okay, if I can do it, I promise you, like it chokes me up, like how much I know this. If I can do it, you can do it too. So with that, I'll take personal questions on how to build wealth with ADUs.
Hi. So I'm very big on value add myself. And my question for you is, what are your thoughts or preferences on ADUs when it comes to ground up development, maybe a detached garage conversion, or possibly splitting a home and separating a mother-in-law suite and a primary suite? And what would you advise? What's your advice for maybe a first-time home buyer or beginner?
It's an amazing question. So we're going to start with the end of it. What are your goals? What are your goals? What can you afford? If you're a first-time home buyer, I'm going to start out with what he ended on, which is my favorite strategy of all for the first-time home buyer or the buyer with very little to no money is buy a 4-3 house and look at converting the master bedroom into a legal separate unit. Okay, the most expensive part of the accessory dwelling unit when it comes to an internal conversion or carve-out ADU is the bathroom. The 3-inch sewer pipe that has to slope on 2% grade is expensive. If you find a spot in the house that already has a bathroom, we can run wire, we can run hot and cold water, we can put in a one-wall galley kitchen for pennies on the dollar compared to putting in big plumbing pieces, that 3-inch drain line. So if you're new to investing and you don't have a lot of money, I would look for a house that I can convert the master bedroom, because it already has a bathroom, into a unit. We do those for $30,000 or $40,000 legally, pull all the permits, get a certificate of occupancy, and in our market, they rent for anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500 a month. Like with no leverage at all. With no leverage, which is using our cash, that's an amazing investment. I'll now touch on where you started, which is what do I think about new construction. That's the cream of the crop. That's what we prefer. That's what I do. If you follow what we're doing, you can do it too. We teach you how to do it. We actually give you our plans. Our plans are for free. You can go to the resources tab on thataduguide.com right now and download our favorite plan set. I really think, in my heart of hearts, growing up as a tenant in shitty apartments, that I have a tenant's point of view, okay? And that's my competitive advantage. And tenants want exactly what homeowners want, in this order, in my humble opinion. They want location, they want privacy, and they want amenities. So if we buy in good areas and we build detached, standalone ADUs that don't share walls, I still have like PTSD from running around an apartment when I was a kid and getting yelled at because like the neighbors downstairs were going to complain. So I like the detached units because they're so much more private, and so do tenants. We're building new units for about $100K. We build them for a little over $100 a square foot. And those are renting from $1,500 to $1,800 in our market. And this is in Southern Oregon, and we have, just for reference, our average price point of a home in the downtown neighborhoods is about $650. So not a crazy market, but about $225,000 above national average. So just for reference for you guys, like it's not Huntington Beach property, but it's also not Gary. I love you, Mike, wherever Millennial Mike is. He's probably not even listening to me. He's probably, Mike, are you in here? Okay, he's here. Anyways, nothing bad about Gary, but just reference for the markets. So that should have thoroughly answered your question. If not, hit me up afterwards. If I don't get to everybody, I'll stay until midnight. Like, you'll have to pull me out of here to answer questions. Like, no shit. Just ask Cena and Kim last night. We were at dinner talking until like 2 in the morning. I didn't hardly get any sleep last night. Hey.
Hey, Derek. Thanks.
Hey, this guy's an action taker. I was in LA at the SoCal ADU tour like 5 days ago, and I saw this guy. So, action taker, right? Being in the right rooms.
So, Derek, first, thank you for being an advocate for lower cost housing. My question is with regards to the technology with the ADU. So, with you advocating for ADUs and technology, I'm not sure if you heard, but in China they built a 10-story building in two days. So with technology like that and 3D printing, do you see a future where ADUs become cheaper?
Yes, I do. It's going to take a long time. The building industry, the construction industry, the policy industry moves really slow. It's like a big, huge aircraft carrier. And small, little, nimble construction companies are like jet skis. So somebody will eventually hit it out of the park, but there's so much lag in the industry. Who's ever seen a boxable? Okay, no. Who's ever actually seen a box? See, all those hands went down. Okay, Elon Musk does not live in one. There's not one on Mars. They're not 50 grand. The government put in an order for 200. They couldn't deliver. But eventually somebody like Boxable will nail it. Or somebody China's a little bit different because there's not much separation between production and state. Like when you're told you're going to go work for 26 hours in a day to build a building, you do it. Like we don't have that same drive here. I do think that technology will catch up to housing, but when technology catches up to housing, it's just going to make it that much more valuable, in my opinion. But right now, what we need to conquer is the zoning regulations. So the limited supply and the horrible job we've done as planners to get into the crisis that we're in today. And that's a whole other class. I could talk for days about zoning and how messed up it was and is and how we've pushed black and brown and poor people out of neighborhoods. And we're breaking those barriers finally. But those are the biggest limiting factors in our country. I mean, even if we could provide a house right now for cheap, like the city would say, no, you can't do that. Unfortunately, like that's the limiting factors right now.
Sorry, I have another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm in California, and the state already allows 2 APNs,
Okay.
but some cities still doesn't allow them. So how do you work around that?
That's a great question. If you're in California and you're trying to build an ADU or 2 ADUs, or get this, you can do 3 now. You can do an ADU internally, you can do a JADU, and you can do a detached ADU. And say the city of whoever I'm going to pick on, Bakersfield, California, says, no, you cannot. If you're in California and you're being told no, contact the Casita Coalition. The Casita Coalition. If you're in California, contact them. They're a huge advocate. They're a lobby, and they're who is suing the states when the states are trying to outstep their bounds when it comes to infill housing that has been put into law at the legislative level. Cities are still kind of slow to warm to this, even though their hands are tied. Great questions.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
How you doing?
Good. It feels so official up here. I'm like, I don't feel comfortable up there.
So a couple of questions. So I live in Southern California.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And yeah, so we have limited space in on our property. So my first question is what is the minimum functional size or footprint of a attached ADU and a detached ADU that you're seeing right now?
Yeah. So there's some legal federal regulations around 170 to 220 square feet, but functional, like what's the smallest I would say is really livable. 300 feet is kind of like the benchmark. You know, you can go a little bit less than that. I mean, who's ever stayed in a 180 square foot motel room that had a nice little kitchenette and a nice bathroom and plenty of room for a studio bed? Like, it's possible. You can totally do it. Personally, 300 feet is kind of my rule, and I try to say no to everything that's under 400 square feet. So 20 by 20, we've got some awesome floor plans for a full-blown, again, what do we want to build? We want a really high demand, low supply product, so we want to build in good areas. Right? We want location, privacy, and amenities. And part of the amenities, especially in ADUs, is everybody wants a bedroom. We don't do studios because people don't like having their friends over and sitting down in their bedroom. So even in 400 square feet, we do a bedroom, and this is something we share openly, but we do these double pocket doors. So the whole place lives like a studio, so 300 or 400 square feet lives like a studio, but you can basically close the wall to still have a bedroom. But anything under 300 feet, it's hard to get a bedroom in. And I would say the mistake that I see people make most often when they're designing floor plans in a small space, say you have like a 300 square foot garage you're trying to convert, is they make the bathroom too big. When you live in a 1-bedroom or you're renting a 1-bedroom, you don't need a huge bathroom. Like, I can't tell you how many ADUs I go in and there's like a 9-foot vanity with 2 sinks in the bathroom. And I'm like, what are you guys thinking? And then there's this little tiny kitchen that you can hardly open the fridge in. So the bathroom is the spot that you want to harvest as much square footage as you can, but 300 feet or more.
And then do you see...
So they can hear you.
Oh, And
Yeah.
then do you see an issue as far as setbacks from power lines? We have power lines going through our
Yeah,
backyard.
yeah. So one thing that I'll say, and I try not to say it because people always chastise me for it, but become an expert in your local zoning code. Become an expert in your local zoning code. You don't have to read the whole chapter. You don't need to go get a 4-year degree. Just make a couple phone calls. I always tell people, call, email, and if possible, go into your local jurisdiction. And that's not just the planning and building department. You might have to call Public Works if it's a city utility. If you're in California and it might be Edison or Pacific Power Corp. But contact the power company. And I always say, get what you want to hear in writing and get the no's verbally. So if you ask them, hey, I want to build an ADU underneath a high voltage power line, and they say, yeah, you can do that. Just you have to draw an imaginary 20-foot circle around the center of the line. That means you can build under a power line in my area as long as you're 10 feet or more. So if they tell me that, I'll say, that's awesome. I'm going to send you a quick follow-up email. You get that in writing, you put it in your file, and you go build. Okay, if they tell you no, you call back the next day, and you ask somebody else. And this is not a BS thing. Is the lumberjack in here? He was like big time in the back room earlier, but I was talking to the lumberjack last night, and he was talking about a municipality that he works in New Hampshire, or used to work in. He doesn't work there anymore because they're full of shit, but they just do whatever they want. Luckily, on the West Coast, we have what's called clear and objective standards that cities have to follow when it comes to land use planning laws, but they still don't always follow it. And no matter what anybody tells you today, real estate is a people business. So I always talk about my trifecta, which is when I call a jurisdiction 3 different times, talk to 3 different people, and get 3 different answers. Okay, I only ask for an email when it's the answer I want.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome.
that's I learned that the hard way too, by the way. Yeah.
Hey, Derek.
Howdy.
So you kind of already semi-answered it, but just want to see your opinion on my local market of Denver.
Oh, Denver's awesome. Denver has
Beautiful.
great ADU legislation coming.
Yes.
A third of the city, you can build them right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my question
Sorry,
is...
I get so excited. I'm like,
Yeah.
Denver's coming.
I guess I look at cities like Portland, Seattle, great templates of similar-sized cities that have passed recent ADU
Yeah.
legislation, and you see a lot of people building ADUs, DADUs, JD, whatever, all the different naming conventions. Denver, unfortunately, city and county in Denver I'm talking about more so.
Yeah.
They make it so, I don't know if it's the zoning, the permitting, a combination of all those factors, they're still behind the times, so even if you can allow it with the zoning, it takes 2 years to build. And then it's like $250,000 for a little 400 square foot ADU.
Yeah.
So what do you think is the best course of action to make change besides me running for city council or going into city planning stage of my career?
Great questions. You should go into city government, period. So I started going to my local meetings. I started showing up to the planning commission and complaining. I would go into the building office and I would say, this is wrong, you can't do this. Finally, one day they said, hey, you have a lot of opinions, do you want to do some work? And I was like, oh shit. And the next thing I knew, I was like, I had a 4-year seat on the planning commission. So change happens at the local level, all right? People want to hear what their constituents have to say, and they're not educated industry professionals. The decision makers are not. They're just normal people just like us. So when somebody like you shows up and says, why the hell does it take so long and cost so much to build an ADU in Denver when we have a housing crisis? This is BS. Look at what's happened in Vancouver or Portland or some of these big hot markets where ADUs have a track record of showing improvement for housing supply and reducing the price, putting downward pressure on rents. Let's take action. And that's where the change happens. I've seen it personally. I've been in so many meetings as an official myself and see one person come in and make a really good point and everybody else votes yay. It really is at the local level. And I'll say this really quickly. If you're in an area that doesn't allow ADUs, okay, there's a million different strategies we can use to still build an ADU. So I'll go into a market where ADUs aren't allowed and they'll say you can't build an ADU. And I say it's not an ADU because it doesn't have a full kitchen. So we do this strategy, and we just put in a one-wall kitchenette, and they say, well, you can't have a microwave, and you can't have a small sink. And then I always ask them if they have a break room at their city development hall, and they always do. And then I ask them to share the clear and objective standards that says we cannot do that, and you can build an ADU without a kitchen, even though it's not an ADU. So if you're looking for this strategy, but you live in a city or a county or God help you if you live by the lumberjack and they don't let you do anything. You can do simple strategies. We build detached bedrooms all the time. Okay, and in that detached bedroom, we put a small one-wall kitchenette. You can't have 220, you can't have a gas plug-in for a stove, but I'll tell you what, a 25-year-old nurse, she's not cooking, or he is not cooking a 30-pound turkey. Okay, they don't need a 30-inch range. So that's the strategies I would use, and then if you want to actually see change in your area, you have to get to the local level. Like, they will listen to you. I mean, show up like this. Like, you're obviously motivated, you're in a room like this, show up to your city. Or you can also just do a verbal for their agenda. You can just ask this to be put on public record, and they'll read it at the meeting, and you don't even have to go.
All right. Thanks, Jack.
You're welcome. Who in here has done policy? Do we have any city council members, any planning commissioners, any parks commission members? Like, nobody? I'll tell you what, there you go. That's why he's wearing a suit. Is that your Ferrari outside? Okay, it probably is. That's where the money's made in this business. Okay, as an infill housing developer, everybody here, if you have property, you can be an infill housing developer now. And all the rules are in the planning and zoning guides, and nobody reads them. Nobody reads them. It's the rule book to how we make money in real estate. When Zuber tried to build an ADU, what do you think he did? Did you read the rules, Zuber? Okay, he's the smartest guy in the room, right? One of them. He didn't read the rules. It's very simple. Read the rules. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Derek. My name is Renee. I'm actually an investor in Atlanta, Georgia. Yeah. So I've actually been building a small ADU in my yard for the past maybe like almost a year now. It's kind of taken a long time. So I was curious to know, what are some like strategies that you use to like streamline your construction process, and how do you say like keep the funding funnel like open for like future projects as well?
Yeah, great question. So what we do is we start with a simple design. So here's how we build fast ADUs efficiently and affordably. We start with a simple design, and we use the same products over and over. And for everybody that's curious about what that looks like, we give it all away. We give our plan set away, single one-wall galley kitchen. We use a small single gable roof, and then the shopping list for all of our appliances, all of our fixtures, all of our faucets. You can have all those for free on our resources tab. We give those all away so you don't have to have the decision fatigue. So to answer your question, the first part of it, we keep the design really simple. We build it over and over again, and we just change the color. We just paint it a different color. And it's nice. We're talking real hardwood floors, nail down, sand in place, granite countertops. They're really nice units, but they're simple and repeatable. And then to keep the funding stream open, when we're done with the units, we always take a home equity line of credit if we can. So before, right, you move into the house, you got to occupy it within 60 days. You're going to live there for a year while you're building your ADU in your yard, just about like a year. Right about the time you get done with it, it's still your primary residence. You go to your local credit union or a small local bank. That's usually where we get the best HELOCs. You pull a home equity line of credit off of that while it's still your primary mortgage, and then you move to another house. You put that into service as a rental, and you have that savings account attached to it. There's also a company that I like that has a pretty good, probably the best ADU loan product I've seen in the country. They have a 20-year fixed rate second mortgage for an ADU product, and they've been doing it for about 10 years. They're a reputable company. I'm not going to mention them on stage because I love Zuber's approach here. This is not a marketing thing. But if you're interested in that, maybe talk to me later and I could share. Again, they're not perfect, but they're one option that you should try to get your money back out. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for the question, and I hope you get that thing done. Send me a picture when it's done. Okay. Nice.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much
good.
for this.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, I have a house in Oakland, and I turned the three bedrooms, I took the window and converted it to doors, so it's an interest for each one. And
Okay.
then, so my understanding is that you just said that I can take the master bedroom and now make that whole part a unit. It's a 7,600 square foot lot in the back that got approved for 2 ADUs and a junior suite. Can I take that whole lot and just make a little minor city?
That's
back
what you
there?
do.
Like a lot of ADUs.
Yes. Like like I said, you take a single family house and you turn it into a duplex, triplex, or quadplex. The answer is Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. And I tore down the garage too, so it's a huge size. The second thing, that's in Oakland. Here in Las Vegas, I have a townhome, and the townhome is in a new development in Henderson, and the garage, I was thinking I can maximize that. It's just a regular 2-car garage. Can I take that and convert it, even though it's in an HOA community, and just do it on an under?
No. The answer is no. Well, the answer goes back to, are there any city officials here? Okay? So I always preach, do not do unpermitted work, right? We are here because we give a damn about people. We care about housing. We are business owners. If you want one rental, you will be a business owner. Right. And when we're building a business, we have to be above board. Right. You know, Warren Buffett says there's plenty of money to be made between the lines. Right. So I would always pull permits. Where I would start is by becoming an expert in your local planning and zoning code. And you don't have to lie to the county or the city or the building department anymore. Just call them. Hey, I live at 123 Adams Road. I want to convert my 2-car garage into housing. Can I do that? And can you please send me the standards I have to meet? Okay. And if they say no, then you can do that strategy without the kitchen. But I'll tell you what, the whole state of Nevada is got ADU legislation. Right. If anybody's worried about ADU legislation coming to their state, look at AARP. They're the largest lobby for the ADU movement. And the model code that some of us have written for AARP is what most states are adopting. So I would not be buying any land anywhere in any urban growth boundary area or city limit that didn't have room for building detached duplexes or accessory dwelling units or multifamily units, because it's coming. Like, it is coming.
Okay, and out of respect for time, how do we plug into you? You answered a lot of my other questions. How do we plug into organizations to learn more in you?
You can. Everybody can follow me if you want at that ADU guy everywhere. So I'm probably most active on Instagram and on YouTube. We give everything away, and I can give you guys resources based on your state and based on legislative actions that are coming to your state. A lot of the work we do is advocacy too, not just building. Yes. How much time do I have, Zuber?
Okay.
8 more minutes. So, hey, to check it out, guys. I'll talk fast. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Zuber will give us 2. So 2 minutes each, and we'll get through everybody.
Okay. Thank you, Derek, for doing this. I had a feeling ADUs would be really popular. I'm from Sacramento. So coming from California, what we've been trying to do is find a 4-bedroom to house hack. We don't have a ton of money to throw into, like, a rental property, and we want to convert that. We want to cannibalize one of the bedrooms to try and make a kitchen, a living room, do that whole thing, separate entrance, get it permitted. However, the struggle is going to be when we move out and want to do this again. What can we do with that junior ADU that's already built into the footprint of the home? Do we have options? I know that we can sell it as a full house, but I don't think we have the option to rent it out to 2 different people.
Yes, you do. Yeah, it's just like any other shared wall duplex in the world, and it's better than any over-under shared wall duplex.
Oh, wow, really?
So, yes, I would plan on moving out and turning it into a side-by-side duplex. That it would be 2 different families living in the 2 legal units.
And
you don't have to worry about it.
The full permitted duplex with the firewall and meters?
Yeah, we just use 2 layers of 5/8. 5/8 Type X drywall is like $15 a sheet. Everybody gets all weirded out about a firewall. It costs you like a couple $1,000s and you have a duplex.
Okay.
Just do it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
and then when you move out, it's a duplex.
Okay, thanks for your time.
You're welcome. Yeah, sorry, I don't want to rush everybody, but I want to get everyone. And then again, if you didn't get your question answered, come see me afterwards. Email me, call me, text me. The number on my website is my actual phone number. So if you call it, like, just don't call it and say, Derek, I didn't think you were going to answer. People do that all the time. Go ahead.
Awesome. I'll be quick, Derek. Thank you so much. So I'm in Tucson, Arizona, and recently they passed a lot of good ADU legislation. My buy box, I'm looking, some of them have like little kitchenettes, some of them are just bedrooms. Now with the new legislation in place, is it worth it to do the full kitchen or keep it as a kitchenette, or your experience? I guess,
So I'll tell you real quickly, down and dirty, you lose 15% if you have a kitchenette over a kitchen based on my 30 years of experience. So just do the math on the purchase price. If it's going to cost you another $80,000 to get a full bona fide ADU as it would to just get a detached garage that has a kitchenette, do the math on that 15% loss of rent. Usually it's not worth it. Keep it as is.
Okay, good to know. Appreciate it. Thank
you.
JJ, the Bay Area.
Hi, JJ.
Lots of fun over there right now.
Cool.
So 2 quick questions. Funding, I've done several ADUs already.
Oh, nice.
But-
ADU Pro. If you're in that area, go see him.
Not ADU Pro, but I've done a couple. Anyway, funding is the biggest issue that I've had. Not for myself because I'm an investor, so I have no problem using hard money.
Okay.
But a lot of people are having a tough time with either getting an equity line or another option. Do you see anything else coming down the pike that would make sense?
Yes, yeah. In fact, I've got a meeting next week with Biden's appointee to HUD to ADU funding.
Yes.
So it's coming. There's going to be a federally backed ADU only loan that's coming. It's coming, and it will happen. So funding will get easier. Right now, people say, "Oh, ADU is a great strategy, but how do I fund it?" How do you fund a BRRRR? How do you fund a rehab? Everybody's buying distressed properties. You tell them to go build an ADU, and they're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! I can't fund that." It's like you fund it the same way. But there is federal funding coming. Right now, there's great 203K loan funding, but it's only for attached ADUs. And then this company, Renify, has a pretty good product that I say at least look at. So there's more options coming at the federal level that will be what I call federally subsidized, Freddie Fannie stuff.
And then obviously the second one, utilities, sub-metering, separate meters. What's your strategy?
Yeah. I put in private meters, and we sub-meter them, and we give the benefit to the tenant. So instead of charging them some big flat rate, it's like you have a highly efficient Earth Advantage Platinum unit. It's going to be very, very effective for you to use the utilities you need to heat and cool it, and then just pay for what you use. So we do private metering because public meters are so expensive, and then there's a meter fee on them that most people pass on to their tenant. So we want to keep it more affordable for our tenants.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, I have lots of content on private metering. Yeah.
Hey, thank you, Derek.
Yeah.
So, I'm from Southern California, so
Okay.
you're sorry for me.
No, beautiful place, beautiful place. I saw somebody sleeping, so I just want to throw a joke in there earlier.
Yeah, so AB 1035, where cities opt in, whether they allow condotization or not, do you know where we can find the list of these cities that decided to go to condo?
Yeah, call your community development director and ask them directly, because those lists aren't current. So he's asking about a condo law. If you're in California, there's this new condo law. There's also the SB 9 law, which says you can either fee simple partition your ADU off on its own tax lot ID of its own, or you can do condoization, which is a little bit easier. It's more of a state paperwork route, and you can do shared utilities. But become an expert in your local planning and zoning code. Call your community development director and say, "Hey, is our city opting into this? Because Daddy is about to do condos."
Thank you.
Yeah. One more? Okay.
I'm Mike from Central Washington, and
Hi, Mike.
You turned the light on in my head. I've got a subdivision, and I was thinking of
Here, people want to hear what you got to say.
I was thinking of doing it backwards, and I was going to take 6 lots, and because of the economy of scale, build 6 ADUs on the vacant lots, and then sell the lot with the ADU. Is there going to be a problem getting the permit?
In most cases, yes. So right now, and this is going to change, okay, in cities that don't allow them, I call them another Derek unit. I think eventually ADU will stand for another dwelling unit, but right now, state and national lingo is accessory. So the accessory in ADU is accessory to a primary. So in most areas, you can't build the accessory dwelling unit without the main house. So in most areas, it's no, but become an expert in your local planning and zoning code by calling, emailing, and if possible, go into the office and ask those questions.
If I got a permit for both at the same time, and I did the ADU first, is it possible to get an occupancy permit?
It is, but usually there's going to be some kind of stipulation that you have to sign, like some kind of notarized document that says, I plan to break ground within 180 days and I have 24 months to get my C of O. We have done that, but very few jurisdictions will give you permits for an accessory dwelling unit without a primary building. But I like the way you're thinking. You could always build a smaller house and then build a detached duplex later.
I think Derek here has forgotten more about ADUs than most people will ever know. Really a pleasure to have you here. You didn't state your goal, right? How many folks or how many ADUs you're trying to influence?
Yeah, my goal is to build 1 million ADUs or influence and build 1 million ADUs in my lifetime, and then when I die, all the ones at least that I have, we're going to give away. Give away.
Well, with that, you now have a championship belt. And again, Derek will be here. Lots more questions I'm sure you have. You want to ask him privately. He is a wealth of knowledge. And again, I think he's forgotten more than most people know.